Hi!
I keep forgetting about the Christmas thing on there.
I need fucking Christmas!
It's the Christmas!
Wow, this yellow kind of just went nuts. It's bright on here.
And they're all yellow. It's fucking hot.
Hi, guys! I need to, like, blend this yellow out, but fuck it!
Yeah.
How do you guys like my Ronald McDonald? It says, I want your soul.
How do you like my midnight shirt? I love my midnight shirt.
Well, how do you like the boobs?
Raven! What's going on?
Hey, Raven! I guess we'll wait for a second, see if anyone else comes in. If not, I don't give a flying
Calvin,
fuck.
what's going on?
What's up, Calvin? Yeah.
What's going on?
If not, I don't really give a flying fuck. I'll get started. We're talking about Joe Ball tonight.
Joe Ball. Joe Ball was his name.
Ball.
His name was Joe Ball. Joe Ball was his name.
Hey, Connor.
Connor, what's going on?
How's it going?
You guys are in for a treat tonight. Joe Ball is
quite something.
Interesting.
This may end up being a part 2, guys. Or there may end up being a part 2.
There will be a part. If there is a part 2, we won't be doing it next week, though, because...
We would probably do it tomorrow?
Maybe tomorrow, but we have... Oh, we'll just go ahead and say it now. Next week, we're interviewing...
Somebody who grew up with a murderer.
Yep. We have an interview.
We're actually interviewing someone. It's weird.
Yeah. So... All
right, so before we start... Warning, the following video contains explicit language which may be offensive to some viewers and or inappropriate for children. The content within this video is intended for mature audiences only.
Called life!
I know. Every time I read it, that's all I can think of. These real things are commonly known as life. So if it offends you, so if it sounds dangerous, do not try this at home or at all. If it sounds sarcastic, don't take it seriously. If it offends you, just don't listen to it. Anyway, I messed that up. But now I really want to listen to Ixnay on the Hombre.
Lewis, what's going on?
Hey, Lewis.
I'm high as a kite. Oh, well, I'm about to get...
I am not yet, but I will soon. Thank you, Raven. Is it Lewis or Luis?
I think it's Luis.
Luis.
I apologize. I'm so used to calling people Lewis, but it's more than likely Luis. Because one of my drivers at work is awesome. His name is Luis, but I call him Lus.
All right. So I will start with
He's also a 49ers fan, and I'm a Broncos.
Pop that bottle.
I'm trying.
The church key's right there.
No, fancy beers have wax on it. I have to get the wax off.
You could just get it off one part and then use the church key.
But I'm OCD.
You're about to stab me.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
And then I'll do it a fancy way.
Where'd my weed go?
I don't know.
Anyway. All right, guys.
With my knife.
Titties.
There we go.
So tonight we are talking about Joe Ball. Joseph Douglas Ball. Born January 7th, 1896 in San Antonio, Texas.
Can I say something real fast?
What?
I got the idea to do Joe Ball because I really got into Macabre's new album.
You got the idea from Mikey originally.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Oh, Mikey sent me a badass podcast to listen to on Joe Ball.
Yeah, he sent it to me today, and I didn't get the chance because I started listening to Lois.
Lois.
Lois. Mummy. Mama.
Mom.
Lois. Lois.
Wait a second. Getting fancy here.
Okay, anyway, ADD. So he was born Joseph Douglas Ball, January 17th, 1896 in San Antonio, Texas. He died September 24th, 1938 at the age of 42 in Elmendorf, Texas. He's known as the Butcher of Elmendorf, the Alligator Man, and the Bluebeard of South Texas.
I always think of the Butcher of Baghdad as someone says Butcher, which is Saddam Hussein.
I'm all...
I don't know why.
So...
And I'm a Raiders fan. Ooh. Oh. Go Broncos. Go Broncos.
So, I know I might be, like, giving away part of the end here, but he died at his own hand.
Yep.
The victim count... Hey,
a little bit.
What's up? So, by the way, in case you guys didn't know, I am now part of the Unright family.
Jugs.
My name is Jugs Unright. And I fucking love it. Hi. All right, so...
Hi.
I'm going to start with a few different things.
We're going to go said hi a little bit.
All right, so the murderers. maybe I shouldn't start with that. I feel like starting with that is like starting at the end of. We're gonna Tarantino it.
Let's get it real fast. Let's just say something. Hell yeah, jokes.
Hell yeah, jokes.
He was not a nice guy.
No,
he was a douchebag of the most extreme douchebags. Like total douchebag. Well, we had to cut some things out because
he was extremely racist.
He was very racist.
And it kind of seems like the guy that I got the information from might have been slightly racist too.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Actually, no. I think he was just trying to report.
He was reporting.
He was trying to be a good reporter.
But we cut all.
I cut a little bit of stuff out.
Well, we didn't cut the bad good shit out, which was the murder, which is what we're here to talk about.
I'm going to be reading almost verbatim on some parts.
Oh, we need to.
Shush. I got a lot of information.
How long did it take for me to grow my goatee?
It was a lot longer.
It was a lot longer before, and then last year I had a pizza job right before we got married, and we had to wear either the face nets. So the face nets. So then I just did the regular beard thing, and then for our wedding I kind of had it shorter a little bit, and then I just been growing it out ever since. Yeah. So I did this for about a year now.
All right, so more than 60 years after Joe Ball committed his crimes, it's still difficult to assemble a factual account of what happened. None of the original investigators are alive, and the local authorities have little to no files or written accounts of the crimes that took place.
Well, at the time, pretty much once the killer...
It was in the 30s.
Once they killed themselves... once they killed themselves and stuff like that, they were like, there's not much to look into this, so...
You're putting the cart ahead of the horse, babe.
Oh. He did say he died by his own horse.
Yes, but you're still putting the cart ahead of the horse here. So again, Joseph Douglas Ball was an American murderer and suspected serial killer.
Not related to Lucille Ball, we found out.
Not related to Lucille Ball, but he sure had a lot of relatives where he's from.
Yeah.
Give me a second here. There we go. He had names that I mentioned earlier: Butcher of Elmendorf, Bluebeard of South Texas, which I don't understand that one, to be honest. If someone wants to explain that.
And the Blue Balls of San Antonio.
And the Alligator Man. He's known to have killed at least 2 and is said to have killed as many as 25 women in the 30s.
Probably, let's split the difference here. I'm betting it's in between that. But regardless, he was such a fucked up person.
Same era as no, not the same era as the Zodiac Killer. His spree went from 1936 to 1938. And we are going to be talking about the Zodiac Killer soon.
If we do that, we are going to be doing a special.
It's going to be a big special with a lot of people.
Yeah. But he was Texar. Was it? They originally thought that Zodiac Killer started off in Texarkana, wasn't it, or something like that?
Well, yeah, but we're not talking about the Zodiac Killer.
I know.
All right, so let's get into this.
Luis has got me going on this.
Let's get into this.
I like Luis. He's fucking awesome.
He is.
Except for, he's a Raider fan, but we can forgive that.
All right. So I wrote out a lot of information here. A lot of it came from information that I gathered from a newspaper editor named Michael Hall from Texas Monthly. This is an article that he wrote, which I'm going to be quoting from later on. But he wrote this came out July 1st, 2002. So let's get this going. Here you go. Here you have a photo and the wrong information that I'm pulling up of Joe Ball.
Douglas Blue Balls.
Standing on the beach in an old-timey bathing suit with a bottle of whiskey in his hand held up to his belly, almost as if he was in between swigs. As you can see, he has binoculars around his neck. And he's standing there barefoot in the sand next to a patch of brush. If you didn't know better, which we kind of do, you would simply think that he was just another party boy from the Prohibition days of yore. However, knowing what he did, we know better than that.
He's a trendsetter, though.
In reality, this picture was taken overlooking a location where he buried one of his victims. And who knows, it could have actually been the day that he had got his girlfriend drunk, pointed off into the distance at something that probably wasn't even there, shot her in the head, and then buried her right there in the sand.
There's also another vein.
Only to return home to his bar with his waitresses and his alligators. And it's not that far from the truth, by the way.
The picture, more than likely, because we were talking about this earlier.
Oh, yeah, more than likely it was
taken by the victim.
By the victim.
Yep.
Yeah.
But another thing, he was also a trendsetter. If you look at the haircut, if you look at the haircut right there, that's very much doing the line like the kids do today.
Well, you know that the side part fade is from the 30s.
Oh, I know. I don't. Well, I've got the undercut, but
I like the side part fade. I like doing it.
I like the undercut.
Hi, Ronald.
Hey, Ronald.
It looks like he has no balls.
No balls. No ball. Joe No Balls Douglas, born with no balls and took it out on the world.
Tom!
Team! Yum!
Yum!
Sorry I'm late. Had a phone call. Also,
a lot of soccer players have that haircut. Yes, they do.
Yes. A lot of hooligans.
So, Joe Ball was a World War I frontline veteran turned bootlegger and gambler.
Fucking brutal, man. He sees some shit.
He had seen some shit, and he enjoyed every second of it.
Yep.
After the end of Prohibition, Joe opened up a bar or a saloon called Sociable Inn in Elmendorf, Texas, and built an adjacent pond where he placed 6 alligators. And I want to pull this up. First off, this is him wrestling an alligator, and he's very happy about it.
He's wrestling a gator.
Ain't
no gator right there. That's a crocodile. He gonna smile at you.
You know
what? I'll tell you what.
You know why crocodiles are so ornery?
Because they got all them teeth and no toothbrush to brush them with. Well, it looks like Mama's wrong again. No, Mr. Sanders, you wrong.
So here's his 6 gators, by the way.
God, I do that southern accent.
But yeah, this is 6 gators.
More than likely, I think they let them go. I think when they actually took them, I think they let them go. I don't think they cut them open. That was not becoming at the time.
So, it seemed that he was kind of thinking of the term corpus delicti. If you guys don't know what that means, it's body of crime. It refers to the fact that you need evidence in order to. Mama says it's the devil.
Mama says.
Mama said. Mama,
did you know Thomas Edison invented the light bulb? Thomas Edison's the devil. I invented the light bulb.
But so he's probably thinking of corpus delicti, which basically states that you need a body of evidence.
You need to eat your
but
corpus.
He was kind of, I think he was maybe misinformed about the idea of that.
It sounds exactly the way what he did.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, corpus delicti. It sounds very
delicious.
Tasty. Not gonna lie. I mean, I probably would get down on that corpus delicti.
That long pork. So when he was building this location, this would lend to having a premeditated plan for his murderous ways.
Yes.
He was the great grandson of John Hart Crenshaw, who was a notorious slave trader, kidnapper, and slave breeder.
Total douchebag.
In Gallatin County, Illinois.
There's something wrong with his medulla oblongata.
Yeah, there's something wrong with his medulla oblongata. Which I guess I mentioned that because later on it starts talking about how some of the people that went missing, he would say they left and they were pregnant with black people's children, but he didn't say it in that term.
He used the racial slur.
And that's just
terrible.
It seems like the idea was still passed down. to him from his family members. So Joe was a scion of the richest family in the town of Elmendorf. Now, mind you, I don't know if that's saying much because today they have like 664 people in that town.
Yeah, but it's only like 15 miles outside of fucking
downtown San Antonio.
Yeah, it's not exactly like it's
which is literally about what I was about to say.
Sorry.
So, which is a tiny town about 15 miles southeast of downtown San Antonio. It was said that he was a ladies' man who had a way with the waitresses at his bar. Sometimes they would get pregnant, and then his fascination with them would end, and they were said to have become Gator Chow.
Which is kind of like, there's a podcast. I'm listening to the last podcast live right now on the Anthill Kids, and it just finished up. And Rocktario, one of the things he hated, even though he hated kids, and the minute shit went down with kids, he tried his best to get rid of them and torture them and all sorts of stuff. Like, he fucking was terrible with them, and it seems to be a trend among serial killers and like sociopaths and psychopaths and stuff like that.
Well, so this is kind of putting the horse ahead, or the wagon ahead of the horse again, because I kind of go on a little bit of a tangent while typing, apparently. By the way, I did this all day long. In September of 1938, the sheriffs finally caught up with him. They dug up the dismembered corpse of one of the barmaids that had gone missing, as well as the body of one of his girlfriends in the sand. In addition to this, they also hauled away the alligators. This is what brought him the pseudonym Alligator Man.
Ain't no gator there. There's no gator there.
So you'd think that the fact that he was known to have them around at his bar would have already earned him this moniker in the first place. So Joe gained infamy for his heinous crimes from his story being told and retold in various newspapers. Okay. True crime magazines and books that told the story of just how evil a person could be. The depths of depravity one human could reach. Even though
such delicious
those two bodies were found, which are Minnie Goddard and Hazel Brown, it is impossible to come up with a final death count. There were so many women throughout the years that had come and gone without leaving a trace at that bar. The count could be as high as 25. But the total was at least 5, or maybe 8, or maybe 20. Well, I don't know. Anyway,
well,
this could make Joseph Ball one of the first modern-day serial killers.
Can we put the cart before the horse again?
Yeah.
There's something we're going to get into in a little bit here, where the people of this town, as of 2002, when the guy was doing the interviews and stuff like that.
I'll get to that though. Wait.
Yeah, they were basically
there's a part I didn't tell you about yet that you're going to like. So I want to show you guys. This is the town gathering to watch them dig up one of the corpses.
Mm-hmm.
Is
that white sands?
Yeah.
Does Texas have white sands?
Yes.
Ooh, we should go to Texas beaches.
We should just go to Texas.
We should just go to Texas.
But look at them. They're holding their nose. The kid's making a face. I mean, but they don't seem all that bothered.
The crazy thing is the kid's making a fucking, not a, oh my God, I'm messed up for the rest of my life
it's
face.
Just, ew, the smells.
It's like, oh my God, why did my mom bring me here face?
Yeah.
You know?
So. Woo! Anyway, this would make Joseph Ball one of the first modern day serial killers. The facts in the story of Joe Ball wildly vary based on the source, such as the number of victims, the names of the main witnesses, what those witnesses saw. Some stories seem to even be glorifying them online in various sources. One of the now defunct sites, The Wacky World of Murder, and even the short film like Homicidal Heroes and stuff like that. They seem to treat him almost like a serial killer rock star.
Well, the fact that it's Homicidal Heroes, they pretty much treat every serial killer
like
a fucking rock star.
But also he's almost like a prototype to them.
Yeah, I would dare say him and Albert Fish.
Yeah.
Or quite possibly.
We got some pretty good sand.
Yes.
So, it's almost like they were rooting him on, though. I looked up some more. I can't find Wacky World of Murder anymore.
They can't post humorously
which I used to be able to look up a lot of information on.
Yeah.
But, you know, those have gone the way. Sites like that have gone the way of the dodo, like, you know.
Well, that steakandcheese.com and all those places.
I was going to say rotten.com, steak and cheese.
Yeah. You can't find those sites anymore.
Faces of Death.
Faces of Death, you can still get the VHSs and some DVDs.
I'm talking about like the websites that you can look at.
Oh, there was no Faces of Death, was there?
Yeah.
Oh, damn. Finally, the new video went up. Cool, Tom!
Yay!
And now you can sit here and listen to our show.
So, it's often said that Joe Ball and Ed Gein were kin to each other. Probably cousins. I guess it wouldn't be that too far-fetched, given their proclivities.
Well, you got Wisconsin, and then you have Texas, which is actually a pretty good distance away.
Yeah, but Joe Ball is the great-grandson of somebody from Illinois.
Illinois? Yes. I like saying it that way.
So, as we all probably know already, Ed Gein was the inspiration for Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho.
And Dead Skin Mask by Slayer fucking metal.
Yes. Natalie has the DVD.
Yes. My buddy's got the VHSs of Traces of Death and Faces of Death. They're still fucking... But
also... Gein was the inspiration for Tobe Hooper's Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But something you might not remember is another Tobe Hooper movie called Eaten Alive. And this was based off of Joe Ball.
Yep, which actually came out after... I was about to say Leatherface. Texas Chainsaw Massacre about a year after.
Yeah, I said that.
I love you.
Love you too. So, in Eaten Alive, the basis for it was a Texas hotel owner who would hack up and feed his guests to his alligator that he kept in his backyard, which included a brutal scene with the hotel owner hacking up a prostitute to death with a rake before feeding her to said alligator.
I watched this scene and I was like, what the fuck? I am not even like scared.
How are you?
It was an actual fucking rake and you're like it's cheesy it's cheesy as fuck. It's actually a pretty good movie because it's cheesy.
I love the movie. I really do.
Like the dude doesn't even look like Joe Ball. He's got like long hair and like this or stuff. I was like, that's not Joe Ball, but whatever.
It's based on it.
I was like, well, there's a gator in it. There's a gator right there.
So, Eaten Alive was a movie that was inspired by, if you get my drift, Joe Ball. Joe Ball is up there on the list of the United States' biggest nutcases, I'd say. Although some would suggest that he is merely misunderstood.
Misunderstood? The dude was a fucking racist and a fucking...
Well, we're going to get to that.
Douchebag. Oh, I know.
It seems exceedingly difficult to find a good amount of information on Joe Ball. While doing research on the subject in 2002 for Texas Monthly, Michael Hall reached out to the Bexar County Sheriff's Office asking if any of their successors had any information that would have happened to survive from the 30s on the case. And a corporal simply replied, no.
You guys got any of them files in there? Nope. Okay. Have a good day, guy.
But the corporal who replied said that his great-grandfather had been the sheriff of a neighboring county at the time and stated, and I quote, okay, I'm just going to say this.
There we go. This is fucking hilarious.
I heard Joe Ball was a black man and he would kill waitresses and throw their body into a pond behind his place.
It's typical fucking backwoods Texas fashion right there.
Now,
I mean, don't get us wrong. We have backwoods California fucking people here.
May I please remind you, he was not black. He was a white man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I just couldn't. I was like, really? And then, so Michael Hall went to the San Antonio Public Library and asked the librarian in the genealogy department for files on the Ball family lineage. She seemed to draw a blank until it was mentioned that the most well-known member of the family was a serial killer, and her response was really cheery, apparently. Oh, this is the guy with the alligator farm. And the guy was like, well, close enough. not really, but close enough.
Yeah, that dude.
Certainly the alligators, Ball's alligators.
Balls to the walls and his alligators.
Fueled stories about his murderous inclinations.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about Elmendorf. It's so small that if you blink, you'll miss it. Looks like one of those old-timey boxers. Yep.
It's a shame you guys didn't do this guy during the time you had the Christmas theme intro. You could have put Christmas balls on there.
Oh.
Oh, man.
Oh, man. Okay, let's get this going. So, it's a town, and now mind you, the article that I got a lot of the information from is from 2002. So around 2002, the population was 664, just outside of San Antonio. It was a pretty poor town with no tourism to be spoken of. About 2/3 of it was Hispanic, or at that, around that time. I'm sure it's probably about the same. Some shabby fields, some mobile homes with really nicely kept gardens, apparently. And it just seems to be the theme. I don't know why that said that. I love how this thing likes to correct me in the weirdest ways.
Yeah, it kind of glitched out a second ago, before I restarted the computer. So
most of the roads still are not paved, and the main intersection of the town simply has a stop sign and a hair salon.
That seems very Texas. I don't know why.
And just behind this intersection, this is the part that I didn't tell you that I think you're going to laugh at. So just behind the intersection is a hand-drawn sign, which on one side has an advertisement for Tony's Bar and Grill. And on the other side, there's a picture of a gator with a bat and a baseball cap, which is apparently their local baseball team.
I'm already wanting to go to Tony's Bar and Grill. Anything that says Tony's Bar, anything that says Bar and Grill after it, I'm probably like, this is going to be a badass place. I bet you they probably have some badass craft beers. No joke. Out of nowhere, you're going to find probably some of the best craft beers in this little town.
Watch out for those balls that go all up in your face.
All up in the business.
I should probably take that down while I'm reading.
No, just leave the balls up in the face while you're reading.
Elmendorf nearby, there are two businesses that have been there in the same location. Their grocery store, and I can't remember what the other one was, but they've been in the same location for 70 years. They were around when this bad boy was in town. This is actually the Sociable Inn in 1938. So
it's crazy. It wasn't in a hotel or anything at all. It was seriously just a bar, wasn't it? Yeah.
But he did live near. I think he lived in it.
Well, but to call the Sociable Inn, I don't know. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
It's just like one of those things. I mean, I guess you would. At the time, he did open it up during Prohibition. So. Well,
no, he opened up the bar after Prohibition.
Was it?
Yeah.
So then why call it an inn?
Oh, I don't know. But
so weird.
He opened it up right as Prohibition ended. So these businesses were actually around when the Sociable Inn was there.
Tony's Bar and Grill.
Not Tony's Bar and Grill.
Please tell me Tony's Bar and Grill took over the Sociable Inn.
Actually, I don't know
what if it did, when we go visit people, we are fucking stopping off there to go to Tony's Bar and Grill.
Like a fucking trap house. Yeah.
Exactly. We are going to stop off there.
This town wasn't even incorporated until 1963. And its first mayor was actually Raymond Ball.
Raymond Ball being,
you guessed it,
his brother.
Yep.
The first mayor of his town where he fucking murdered people.
And threw them into an alligator pit.
Into a gator pit. Was his actual fucking brother.
So something that I forgot to mention is he would put on shows for feeding the gators.
Jesus Christ.
He would.
Jesus
And he would tell
Christ.
people he was feeding them like dog meat.
Oh my God.
Dog and pork and stuff like that.
Dog. Especially back then. Even back then, people fucking loved dogs. And everyone in this part of town or the
They're
country was like,
whatever.
It's a fucking dog. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah,
that was a New Yorker accent. Sorry.
I don't know where his accents come from.
I don't know. It just kind of happens. Like my everything else turns out to be Italian. I can do
everything turns Italian.
I can definitely do a Cajun accent. I can do a New Yorker accent. I can do an Italian accent. That's pretty much fucking it.
So,
hey, where you get that meat at?
Elmendorf has developed a troubled reputation, known for being a speed trap in the 70s. And in 1983, the mayor resigned along with 2 successive police chiefs.
Please tell me it was his brother
who were accused of falsifying documents to a state agency. And in 1987, a council member walked out of a meeting due to a disagreement, later resigning. Shortly after, they changed their mind, decided they wanted to come back, and they weren't allowed to. In 2000, the mayor and 4 council members, which included Bucky Ball, who's Joe Ball's nephew, were indicted on a misdemeanor for violating the Texas Open Meetings Act. In 1999, the town finally got water lines laid down.
Hold on.
I'm like, what are you doing?
I'm texting Tom right now.
Finally got water lines laid down, and as of 2002, the sewer lines were still in the works.
Okay, so
hey, Dominic. Hey, Dom.
Dom, text us later. I want to. You're
Those
fucking awesome.
Elmendorf balls.
We have such sights to show you, Dom.
Apparently, right now it's balls.
So, she brought up because we were talking about the notes earlier. She's like, well, I can't believe they didn't incorporate or they didn't have.
It wasn't the incorporate.
It was the sewers, wasn't it?
Bucky
balls. No, it was the sewers and stuff like that. I was like, actually.
Well, I get it, but it's still in 2002. They haven't even tried to set sewer lines. That's crazy.
No, but actually, okay, so a local, a small suburb of Bakersfield right now, which is called Rosedale, where Shawnra lives in.
And they're fancy fuck.
They are, and they also are all on fucking. They're all on. There's no sewers. They're all on well water. Vast majority of them are on well water, and vast majority of them are on septic tanks or whatever it is.
Well, yeah, I mean,
yeah, it's not an uncommon thing in most small towns and stuff like that. So, such to show you, I was just watching Hellraiser 2. I love Hellraiser 2.
So, here's the interesting part, and this is where we're getting a little bit more into Michael Hall. God, there's so many names here. In Elmendorf.
Yes, Don, thank you. Sorry.
In Elmendorf, there is a church called St. Anthony of Padua Catholic Church.
Padua Obligata Catholic Church.
It's the oldest church in town. There's always movement in the church. It's a common place for elderly people to meet up and play dominoes, enjoy a meal provided by the church for free. And that program was started in 1973 by a Mrs. Michael Ball, who was the first manager of the program. Michael Hall, who is the editor that I got a lot of this information from, decided to go hang out there several mornings and strike up conversations with the town people.
Lots of balls and balls here. While
pretending that he knew how to play dominoes. They're playing Mexican train domino or whatever it's called.
I'm going to tell you this right now. Dominoes is a pretty fucking complicated game to play.
He was playing Mexican train
domino. My mom can play all that.
Oh, I can play regular dominoes.
My mom can play all of it. The Hispanic dominoes, all that stuff. No joke. And I'm sitting there.
It's called Mexican train.
I don't want to fucking say that word. I'm being polite.
It's not a bad term. So, Michael Hall decided to hang out with these townspeople and strike up conversations, asking them about Joe Ball. It seems that everybody at least knows the name, but there were actually some who remembered him. So Lawrence Ledecky, who was 14 in 1938, he said that he used to sneak into Ball's yard to see the gators. And he said Ball was a good shot. He could shoot a bullet through the mouth of a beer bottle or hit a coin in the air.
He could shoot them balls so fucking
but
hard.
He was mean. No, Lucille Ball was not.
I know.
Were not here when we said it, but
well,
he's
the funny
not.
thing was, is like, we were like,
I don't think so.
We were going out to get some beers before the show. Like, we had an hour to go. And like, I was like, I think Lucille Ball's from Texas. I swear to God, is she fucking related to him? And then like, we were looking at him like, Liz
Jamestown,
like,
New York.
She's like, she's from New York. I was all fucking crazy ass Lucille Ball.
These balls are crazy though.
Them balls.
So, he was saying a memory from when he was 14. Ledecky was saying that
Ledecky sounds like a douche.
That Joe Ball was such a good shot that you could throw a coin in the air, he would shoot it. He could shoot through the head, like the give me the bottle. He could easily shoot directly through here.
Yeah.
No problem. But he was a mean son of a bitch.
Son of a bitch.
And Polly Marion said we were afraid of him. At the time, she was 88 years old. She said he'd get mad, he'd kill you. And the townspeople were suspicious of Ball even before his death, she said. He was a dirty rat. He had some black people there, and he treated them so mean.
Those were actual quotes.
These are actual quotes.
Yeah.
So the locals take a certain hushed pleasure in talking about the town's most infamous son, even if they don't always get the facts right. Jesse Bayer said, they found 2 bodies on the beach somewhere, but they never found any other bodies. He fed them to the gators, is what I hear. I don't know how many. Alex Saucedo said that Ball had fed his waitresses to the gators. And he said, oh, yeah. It was a matter of the women being whores, disappearing, moving on like whores do.
This is one of the things I was actually gonna say, like, bring up about the townsfolk even after.
They don't give a fuck.
They actually kind of did take some pride, because I mean, this one coat's one thing, but we were actually discussing it prior to this. They were actually taking some pride in this because they view these women that he killed as, ladies of the night, sex workers and stuff like that. So in their head, they were just whatever beneath them, and it didn't matter. Like, actually, some of these people actually glorify him.
Mm-hmm.
So
Ledecky is even skeptical about the body count in the first place. He says, too many liars. I think there are just 2. Nobody knows for sure.
Mikey, throw me the goddamn ball. All of a sudden, Joe Ball comes flying at me. Here you go.
So, he was like, nobody knows for sure. I think that there were 2, but nobody knows for sure. And so, when you walk outside of the church, there's a large graveyard. And most of the headstones are decorated with colorful flowers. And the first grave that you see at the gate is one that you would think would be hidden from sight. It's Joe Ball's. And it's right next to his father, Frank Ball.
Yeah.
And I quote from this guy's article. Balls lie all over this cemetery.
You have to think of the time, like they didn't. There's another reason too, like why, like they couldn't fathom at the time, like someone would actually like go on a murder spree. There were a couple instances of people actually going on murder sprees at this time, but they viewed them as few and far between. They actually viewed serial killers. They actually didn't believe they existed. Like, how could someone take pleasure in this? This was a time in America. There was great tension from the 30s and 40s and 50s and 60s with racial tension and stuff like that. But that's at the same time in America, they didn't lock their doors at the time. They didn't think about this. They didn't think that someone would, barge
he wasn't really going into.
He wasn't going door to door. I'm just saying in general, like, so it wouldn't be feasible for them.
So Luis,
it wouldn't be feasible for them to think that someone who operated a bar would be murdering his waitresses and stuff like that, and girlfriends who happen to get pregnant.
So, Luis, we're basically at the part where he talked to several people who actually have, or the gentleman who I got a lot of the information from. His name is Michael Hall, which is funny because that's my doctor's name, like my primary since I was a kid.
Mike Hall.
Mm-hmm.
At least his last name wasn't Hunt.
He was interviewing several elderly people that remember him, but not only remember him, but kind of defended him.
Fucking God, it smells like balls. Oh, Joe and his family must be around. Oops.
So Frank X. Ball, who was Joe Ball's daddy, actually built Elmendorf.
Hi, Peter. Don't be sad, Peter.
That's why they call it Spoopel. So, it was established in 1885 by Henry Elmendorf, who would later become the mayor of San Antonio. This was a cotton country, and Ball borrowed some money and built a gin to process the crop. The railroad put a depot in town, and Elmendorf cotton, as well as pottery, bricks, and tile made at a local factory, were exported to the rest of the world. A school opened in 1902. By the late 20s, the town was thriving with general stores, a hotel, a doctor's office, meat markets, confectionaries, and a couple of cotton gins.
Luis, I'm sorry, I apologize. You can catch us on Spotify, actually. We do have a podcast.
We do. I just need to upload.
We have to start uploading more.
I haven't uploaded in a while.
Dom, text us later. Maybe we can work together on something with the Ripper. I'm just saying, Dom, seriously, Dominic, text us later.
Okay, ADD moments.
Sorry.
So you made me lose my spot.
Sorry. I had a tip of the opportunity.
So Bucky, whose actual name is Richard, whose father was Joe's brother, he said, my daddy said there'd be cotton wagons 2 miles up the old highway. And Elmendorf was a jumping town back then. Okay. Frank Ball was rich. He began buying and selling farms, especially when they got cheap during the Depression. He opened a general store from which he sold everything from caskets to shoes. He built the first stone home in the area.
He built the first Costco.
I didn't pick up on this. Babe.
Sorry.
Frank's wife's name.
Elizabeth?
Yep.
Yes! We built the first Costco!
So, he built the first stone home in the area. He and his wife, Elizabeth, had 8 children.
Home. Jesus Christ.
8 children. We are not having 8 children.
Yeah, we are.
No.
You know I do that shit old school. I don't pull out.
We are not having 8 children. Many of whom became pillars of the community. Except for Joe.
Yeah, Joe didn't become a pillar of the community.
Kind of sounds like he sort of did.
Someone's got to do the dirty work, I guess.
Frank Jr. became a school trustee in 1914.
Jesus
Raymond
Christ.
opened a new grocery store.
Oh, everyone named
which
Raymond.
Also held a post office.
Does everyone love Raymond?
His wife, Jane, would become the postmaster. Their second child, Joe, was no politician. He was, however, good with guns.
Well, as is every American at the time.
Bucky said, my uncle could shoot a bird off a telephone line with a pistol from the bumper of his Model A Ford. Ball joined the Army in 1917 to fight in the Great War.
Wait.
In his official Army photo, he looks pale and innocent, as a lot of Americans did who were going off to fight for democracy.
So he actually volunteered at the time?
Yeah.
Damn.
Ball saw action in Europe, and according to Bucky, received an honorable discharge in 1919. and returned to Elmendorf.
Fucking Dom. Uncle Dom here to the 8 kids. And then Tom, was it a store called Walmart? No. I swear to God, it was the first Costco. That's the first Costco ever.
Joe may not have followed in his father's footsteps, but he learned something from him about business.
Father didn't kill fucking his employees.
Just as people needed a gin to process their cotton, they also needed, well,
gin.
And whiskey and beer. As Prohibition settled in during the 20s, Ball became a bootlegger. He drove all around the area, selling whiskey to people out of a 50-gallon barrel, Ledecky said.
Oh, it was straight up fucking bathtub whiskey.
Ball was about 6 feet tall and 160 pounds, according to Elton Crude Jr., whose father, a Bexar County Sheriff deputy.
6'1" and 240 pounds.
That's a scrawny.
That's a scrawny man right there. I would have broken his collarbones.
So, Elton Crude Jr., whose father, a Bexar County deputy sheriff, helped investigate Ball and later wrote about him in a book titled The Wild and Free Dukedom of Bexar. He wasn't near as good looking as they describe in those detective magazines, Crude said. He could be dangerous. In the mid-20s, Ball began hiring off and on a young black man named Clifton Wheeler to help him around the house and the business. Wheeler was a handyman, but he did a lot of Ball's manual labor and dirty work. According to many, Wheeler lived in fear of Ball. Ledecky says that Ball would shoot at him to make him dance the jitterbug. As expected, Ball's nephew has a different image of Joe based on the stories his father told him. Bucky said he was always kind-hearted, remembering
who was Bucky again? I'm sorry.
Bucky's his nephew.
His nephew. Fuck him.
He was always kind-hearted, remembering a tale about his uncle paying for a poor Mexican-American couple to go to the doctor to have their baby. He did things like that a lot. After Prohibition, Ball opened up his tavern. In the back, there were 2 bedrooms, and up front was a bar, a player piano, and a room with tables where the men drank and played cards. Sometimes Ball hosted cockfights.
Ball's cockfights. Y'all coming down to Ball's cockfight? We got them Galas over here.
Try refreshing, satisfying Ball's beer.
Try refreshing and satisfying Ball's beer as a Ball's cockfight and Gator Emporium. I'll tell you what, son. You get on over here, you get them Gators and you get them Balls and you get them cockfights and you.
Nothing makes a hot day better than having an ice cold Balls in your hand.
I'll tell you what, man. Let me read it the way I want to read it. Let me see real fast. No, bring it up. I'm gonna read it this way. I'm sorry, dude. Nothing makes a hot day better than having an ice cold Balls in your hand with them Gators and them cockfights. I'm sorry. The COVID. I'm still coughing from the COVID. I just cracked myself up. You get on down here with them Gators and them cockfights and them Balls.
At some point, he went to one of the nearby low water areas where the gators are occasionally seen and caught some and put them in a concrete pool behind the tavern. He strung wire 10 feet high around the pool. Perhaps he loved gators, or perhaps he just knew how to bring in customers. It was common knowledge that every Sunday night a drunken orgy occurred.
Huh. What the fuck?
Any wild animal, possum, cat, dog, or any other animal without an owner.
What the fuck?
Helped make that show a little better.
Fuck him. He deserves to die.
Get drunk, throw an animal in, and watch the gators go. Ball hired women, dance hall girls, to wait tables. It was the Depression, hard times, and women came through Elmendorf looking for work. Some stayed, and some seemed to disappear.
Tom, a drunken what? Yeah, exactly. Wait, did he just say a drunken orgy?
Yep.
Dogs, cats, whatever. went.
Okay, no. So what he's saying,
I know he threw cats and dogs into the
during
gators,
it, they would kind of like amp things up and be like, "Let's go feed the gators."
You know what? This sounds like a really fucked up Porky's. If you guys ever seen Porky's, I know, and Liz and me, or I'm old enough, but Liz is young. But Tom and me are fucking old enough. This sounds like a really fucked up Porky's.
So this is who we're going to talk about first. If you squint a little bit, it's not as fuzzy.
Actually, she's pretty. She's really pretty.
She's actually really pretty.
She's very pretty. Like, he was very much a ladies' man.
So,
Frank, you should like.
Sound like the politician from Oh Brother Where Art Thou?
I love that scene.
I am a man
of constant sorrow. I can't sing right now, but I absolutely love. Did you guys know?
We're the cattle raped.
We're the cattle raped. Did you guys know that it was actually what's his face?
Clooney?
No, who sang it?
Clooney?
That was not Clooney who sang that. That was fucking Mr. Stompin' in American who stomp. Fuck! What the hell is his name? He's saying, I am the bull god. Fuck! What is his name?
Baby, I gotta continue with this.
I know you do, but I can't. Fuck! I can't think of the guy's name. Oh
God! What did they call her?
The American Badass. Who did the song?
Okay, I don't know.
The American Badass.
I don't know right now. So Hazel Brown, that picture that I showed you, she just stares right into your soul in that picture. The Odyssey. Yeah, it was based after the Odyssey. You're right.
It was very much based after the Odyssey.
So Hazel Brown, she just stares right into your soul. She is a confident and
Kid Rock.
Dangerous.
It was Kid Rock who sang that song. Sorry.
Beauty. And looks like one of those hard-bitten starlets in the Hollywood in the 40s. Kind of like the Black Dahlia.
She's freaking gorgeous. She does look like the Black Dahlia.
She looks like Elizabeth Short.
God damn.
Who also had a gruesome unsolved murder.
Kid Rock's awesome, man. I'm sorry. I love Kid Rock. I'm that dude. I don't know if he's metal or not, but he is very much an awesome musician.
I just like him as a person.
He's a very good
person.
Maybe
it's just the age of the photo or the era in which it was shot, but it's easy to see why Ball fell in love with her.
Well, if you show this photo right here, actually,
that is the photo.
No, it's not. Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, it's slightly different, but yeah, it is. She's very gorgeous. She is very loving. You can see she's very, in this photo right here, she looks like she can, like, she looks like one of those chicks.
Chrome off a trailer hitch.
No, she looks like one of those chicks who, like, go after fucking douchebags. You know?
Sadly.
Like, you're like, how are you doing this? Why are you going after this guy?
Here you go.
She looks like one of those chicks who are like, you are so much better than him. Don't go do this shit.
So this is her. Hazel Shotzi Brown.
Undertaker structured. Yeah, Undertaker, Kid Rock. Yeah, exactly. The American Badass. I fucking love The Undertaker. I love The Undertaker.
Actually, Damon Baird and I were talking about The Undertaker earlier today.
I am the American Badass. Watch me, Kid Rock, or you can suck my dick. Yes.
So, Shotzi is what they called her. Caught Ball's eye.
Shotzi's caught balls.
And then vanished.
God damn it. I feel bad about making jokes about her because she's so cute and nice.
Before her, Ball had fallen for other waitresses. In 1934 or so, he met a woman from Seguin named Minnie Goddard, who was also known as Big Minnie. Big Minnie was, according to Crude, a bossy, displeasing, obnoxious person, but Ball liked her. She ran the bar with him and Wheeler and had no fear of the drunks. At some point, though, Ball began seeing barmaids Dolores Buddy Goodwin, who was 15 years his junior. She fell in love with him. Even after one night in the spring of 1937, when he threw a bottle and hit her in the face, giving her a scar that ran from her eye to her neck.
Jesus Christ.
By then, Brown, who was from McDade, and known as Shotzi.
You wouldn't sit there and think like it actually went on the outside, but more likely went like this all the way down. That's fucking brutal. That's a narcissist right there.
By then, Brown, who was from McDade and known as Shotzi, was also working at Ball's. She was also young, only 22, and popular with the customers. She and Buddy became friends. Big Minnie, though, didn't like Buddy one bit and wasn't afraid to show it.
Who was Buddy? Buddy was another chick or
another female, yeah. That summer, Big Minnie disappeared. Ball told people that she was pregnant in a Corpus Christi hospital. Wheeler heard Ball.
She was pregnant in the Corpus Christi Hospital.
Wheeler heard Ball tell someone that she was going to have a inward
racial slur.
Inward baby.
Yeah, it's. We took it out.
She must have skipped town in a big hurry though, because she left all of her clothes behind. In September, Ball married Buddy, and he revealed to her his secret that he had taken Minnie to the beach and killed her. She wouldn't take any more trouble for them. Buddy told Shotzi about Minnie's demise. She told her a couple of times. In January of 1938, Buddy's left arm was cut off, and stories flew around Elmendorf that Ball's crazed alligators had torn it off, or that Ball had cut it off and fed it to them.
Wait, Buddy was still alive when he did this?
Yeah, let me show you who Buddy is. Buddy is not the one I thought it was. He said Big Minnie, but this is Buddy. That's Buddy. That's his wife.
And even Buddy's like actually really, she got some weird fucking ears. Never mind. Look at that ear.
It's covered.
No, it's not covered. Look at that fucking weird ass ear. Sorry, Buddy. I can't. Jesus fucking Christ. So she lived. She lived actually after all this. Was this taken later on, or was this?
This is a different picture. Yeah, this is.
That's not Joe Ball.
That is Joe Ball, who killed himself, and missing wife.
Oh fuck!
This is a newspaper clipping.
Never mind.
Fuck this! I'm staying single.
Same girl. Yeah. Big Minnie sounds like she should be Beulah Baller. Beulah Baller here from Porky's. You know this. Right, Doomsday, does this not sound like a fucked up Porky's?
So, in fact, Buddy had lost an arm in a car wreck. In April, Buddy disappeared. By then, Joe was seeing Shotzi. And then she disappeared too. On September 23rd, 1938,
they always disappear.
An old Mexican-American man approached the Bexar County deputy John Gray, who was dove hunting in Elmendorf, and told him about a foul-smelling barrel covered in flies that Joe Ball had left behind his sister's barn. It smelled, he said, like something was dead inside it. Enough women in Ball's world had disappeared that the next day Gray and another deputy drove out to talk to him. The other deputy, who would later become a Texas Ranger, was a hunting buddy of Ball's. He was a good shot, too. They went to the barn, but the stinky barrel was gone. They drove to the bar about noon to talk to Ball, who denied knowing anything about it. But when they all returned to the barn, his sister corroborated the old man's story. That was enough for the deputies, who told Ball they were taking him to San Antonio for questioning. Ball asked if he could first be allowed to have a beer and close down his place. The sheriff agreed, and the trio returned to the bar. Ball got a beer, took a few sips, went to his register, opened it, pulled out his .45 from under the counter, waved it at Gray, and Clevenhagen, who's the other guy, who yelled, "Don't!" and went for his pistol just as Ball turned it on himself.
Blew his brains out.
Pointed it at his heart.
Was it his heart?
It was his heart.
Okay, so in the fucking video, we'll show you the video a little bit. But in the video, they say it's his head.
And pulled the trigger and fell dead in the barroom floor.
Mind you, he said 45. It was a Colt in 1911 at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And Kimber has the patent on it now.
4 other deputies, including Crude, descended on the tavern. They checked the 5 gators, 1 large, 4 small, in their pond, which was surrounded by rotting meat. They found an axe matted with blood and hair. The first theory was an obvious one. The fearsome drunk had killed and mutilated his wife and other victims and fed them to the gators. The cops talked about other disappearances, including 2 missing barmaids and a 16-year-old boy who hung out at Joe's. Perhaps the Sunday night feeding frenzies had been covers for his Sunday night murders. Maybe the old bootlegging barrels now held alligator food. But then Wheeler, who had been taken by sheriffs to San Antonio, spilled the beans. Shots he had fallen for someone else, he said, and it was one of the bar customers, a guy with a home and a good job. She wanted out, but Ball wouldn't hear of it. She then threatened to tell the police about Big Minnie, and he killed her. And now the handyman knew exactly where Shotzi was. He took the sheriffs to the back of Elmendorf, about 3 miles from town, on a bluff some 300 feet from the San Antonio River. By the light of a campfire, he began to dig. Blood bubbled up from the dirt, and the odor became unbearable. Wheeler pulled out 2 arms and 2 legs, but finally a torso. The sight and the smell were so bad, the sightseers ran in all directions and started heaving and upchucking. Wheeler was asked where the head was, and he pointed to the remains of another campfire.
Reminds me of Stand By Me, the movie.
After
when they all
carefully sifting, cops found a jawbone, some teeth, and finally a piece of the skull that once held the pretty face of Hazel Brown.
Now, here's the thing. For that to actually really have happened, I'm pretty sure that was actually fictionalized right there. For that to actually have happened, that means that is not that scene. That's near the banks of the river, not the fucking beach.
You know, the riverbanks have sand, right?
Not in my world. I'm sorry, just fucking around. Okay, so I was probably wrong. That's probably the banks of the river. But for that to have happened, for it to bubble up, that means there was a pocket of nastiness in their torso, and they hit it with a shovel.
It's possible.
That's fucking brutal, man.
So I'm going to show you guys. This is John Gray. This is the sheriff with the tools that they confiscated. This is how he cut up his victims to feed them. And the other one's a shovel.
No, that's not. Okay, real fast. So if you see right here, that is not. That's a shovel they used to make fence posts and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well,
to put fence posts in the ground.
Beggars can't be choosers, I guess.
That's actually. Never mind. I was going to say something really fucked up. I guess that's actually pretty smart because he was able to. Jesus Christ. I'm a fucked up person, I guess. So he was able to actually chunk them out and pull the chunks up. Mm-hmm. All he had to do was sharpen the shovel ends on the fence post shovel. Oh my God. Thank you, post hole diggers. Yes. Man, he was. The funny thing about these,
you're really making me lose my spot.
I'm sorry. The funny thing about these killers and stuff like that, like you have like Gary Ridgway and all these other people like who were like not very smart, like IQ wise, but when it came to murder, all these fuckers, they knew what they were doing. They were experts.
Well,
man,
you don't have to be smart to be a grunt.
Yeah, actually, grunts are not murderers. They are.
You know what I mean?
These guys were experts in their fields. That's what I'm saying. They very much were so.
So, Wheeler told how after a night of heavy drinking, Ball had asked him to load up the car with blankets and beer. Joe had a saw, an axe, and a post hole digger with him, as well as a pistol. They went to his sister's barn, stopping along the way to drink, and then picked up the fetid 55-gallon iron barrel, which they took to the river. Ball forced Wheeler at gunpoint to dig a grave, and they opened the barrel.
Not going to show Dom, sorry.
Out came Brown's body. Wheeler refused to help Ball dismember the corpse, so he tried to do it himself, but he got enraged when one of her hands got in the way of sawing off her head. That Wheeler reached over and held Brown's head and then helped further, holding her arms and legs while his boss sawed. They each got sick to their stomachs, so they drank some more beer and buried the corpse. Though they threw the head as well as her clothes on a campfire, as dawn broke, they sat around and drank beer and then drove back to the bar.
I'm sorry, but
Wheeler also solved the mystery of Big Minnie.
Yeah, if I'm going to be nauseous before being drunk and watching someone like murder someone, me getting drunk is just going to make it even more worse. I'm like, fuck this shit, I'm out.
So, Wheeler also solved the mystery of Big Minnie. The previous June, Ball had told Wheeler to pack the Model A coupe and be sure to stow plenty of whiskey and beer. Then he took Minnie and Wheeler to Ingleside near Corpus Christi. Ball found a secluded area. After a little swimming and a lot of drinking, asked the doomed Minnie to take off her clothes. Wheeler made himself scarce, but when Ball called for more whiskey, Wheeler noticed that his boss had a pistol by his side. Ball pointed off in the distance, and when Minnie turned her head to look, he shot her in the temple. Wheeler was shocked, but Ball told him that he had no choice. She was pregnant, and he was seeing Buddy. And the two buried her in the sand and drove back to Elmendorf.
So Ball was very much like Jeffrey Dahmer.
And this is actually when they were digging her up.
Ball was very much like Jeffrey Dahmer, where he couldn't... It sounds like he couldn't murder people unless he was fucking wasted.
Well,
because Dahmer couldn't murder someone unless he was like just beyond bliss drunk.
So officers questioned Wheeler about the other women, and they found a packet of letters as well as scrapbook with photos of dozens of women. This, said Chief Deputy Sheriff J.W. Davis, might lead to the discovery of one or a dozen more murders. The Antonio papers wrote of the disappearance of more than a dozen barmaids, including Stella, who had a fight with Ball about Big Minnie.
Stella.
The sheriffs also had a theory that Ball was dealing narcotics and that it would have been a simple matter to put the dope in bottles and store them in the Gator's lair. They drained the pool but found no drugs.
Well, what is narcotics at the time?
I don't know.
But just pretty much cocaine and fucking heroin?
So crowds flocked to watch the investigators exhume the body. So I know I showed it a bunch of times already, but what the fuck? Why are people like flocking to see this shit?
Yeah, it's pretty brutal, man. The fact that someone actually brought their child. Hey, they're exhuming a body out of a fucking out of a beach right now. You guys want to go see this stuff? Let's go.
So 3 days after Ball's suicide, the police began digging in the sand 4 miles southeast of Ingleside.
Thanks, Tom. I'll say, oh yeah, text me tomorrow, man. We'll work things out, man. Or I'll text you later tonight.
They took heavy machinery and hired local laborers and people with nothing better to do. Sometimes hundreds of them came and watched. A local merchant set up a stand and began selling cold drinks. The crowd swelled. Excitements and rumors ran high, reported the San Antonio Light. Other dunes looked suspiciously like burial mounds, and mysterious shapes were seen walking around at night. Finally, on October 14th, they found the remains of Big Minnie, well preserved in the deep, cold sand. Meanwhile, the police had located Buddy in San Diego, where she had fled from her husband and gone to be with her sister. So 2 weeks later, Clevenhagen and Gray brought her to San Antonio. On the way, they stopped in Phoenix and found one woman listed as missing from the tavern.
So, real fast, I forgot what I was going to say. Hey, Richard.
Hey.
I forgot what I was going to say. I'm sorry. I just completely drew a blank. You ever had those moments before where I was like, yeah.
Buddy later said that Wheeler told her that on her last night on Earth, Shotzi, who didn't know Buddy was in San Diego, had accused Ball of killing her. So basically, Shotzi accused Ball of murdering Buddy, but Buddy had actually run off.
So, at the time, even Belle Gunness was probably roughly 20 years prior to this. The public, this was actually kind of like a public
20-ish, yeah.
This is actually kind of like a public thing. Whenever they actually find bodies and stuff like that, they would actually gather and actually have fun, and actually set up. Because with Belle Gunness, they set up actually circuses and stuff like that, and actually had fun on their property.
You gotta wonder, was there a little Minnie?
Yeah,
actually, exactly. There was, and that's why she was murdered.
I actually think roughly around this time, this is when police were actually getting wind of. You probably shouldn't let the public come and see this shit. We need to actually have, the crime scene not be contaminated and stuff like that. So, yeah.
So,
was there a Minnie Cooper, Tom?
There was a little Minnie because she was pregnant.
I know. Minnie survived, right?
No.
Oh.
Minnie was the one that they were digging up from underneath the dune.
Who was the one that survived?
Buddy. Agreed. Humans are the worst. So, Shotzi badgered Ball until he flew into a rage. After a while, said Buddy, Joe hit her with his pistol, and I reckon that killed her. He shot her too, just to make sure. So here you go, babe. In the aftermath, the alligators went to the San Antonio Zoo.
And gators went to the San Antonio Zoo?
Wheeler received 2 years in jail as an accessory.
That's it.
He got out and opened his own bar in town, but soon left and was never heard from again. And Joe Ball's legend bloomed. The pulp press had a lot to do with it. True Detective, the monthly Bible of the sordid true crime, found his story irresistible and wouldn't let it go. Returning often to the sensational tale of the murderous ladies' man, dozens of hapless ladies, unborn children, mutilation, kitties, puppies, and of course, alligators starved for human flesh.
Damn gators.
Hungry gators sold magazines, just as Ball had used them to sell beer. But the fact of the story sometimes came from the writer's imagination.
Well, Florida Man and the Gators, just look that shit up. It always sells.
Elton Crude Jr. said, my father called them once and asked, where'd you get those stories? According to one story, my dad was the roughest, toughest, manhandling deputy sheriff in Bexar County history. Well, he wasn't like that, though he did throw some drunks out of a bar occasionally. Bucky told me about his Aunt Madeline, Joe's sister, who sued True Detective several times for their imaginative versions of Uncle Joe. I don't know if she ever collected. She didn't really need the money. So, let me see here. I have another thing that I wanted to read in here. Okay, here it is. There were plenty of tales, including oft-told one of a man who, in 1932, had stumbled into Ball pitching a woman's body into the pool. According to local lore, Ball threatened the man into leaving town. He fled to California and returned only after Ball was dead. Others claim to have seen Ball throwing pieces of human flesh into the pit. Ultimately, of course, it's impossible to prove he didn't. Even though most of the missing women were accounted for, usually in San Antonio, some never were. And even though no human remains were found in the alligator pond, that didn't mean that Ball didn't clean them up. And even though Wheeler, the only eyewitness to Ball's crimes, never said anything about the gators, that didn't mean he didn't know how to keep his mouth shut when he had to.
I mean, exactly. Not to go off on this, but he was a person of color at the time.
Mm-hmm.
In the when else like 1947?
30s.
No, when did he get caught?
38.
Was it 38? I thought it was
38
47.
is when he shot himself.
So 38.
47 was the Black Dahlia murder.
Oh, you're right. Sorry. So it was 1938 when Wheeler got caught, and he was a person of color. Mm-hmm. For him to get 2 years, kind of proves some stuff here that they weren't able to get any evidence on him.
So with Ball, it was easy to believe the worst. It still is. Take one violent, sadistic drunk known for throwing stray pets to his alligators. Add a one-armed missing wife, one hacked-up girlfriend, and another buried in sand. Who knows how many stray women coming and going? You do the math. 6, 10, dozen, 2 dozen barmaids hacked up, gator food. Buddy tried to set the record straight in an interview in 1957. Joe never put no people in the alligator tank.
Might be true, actually.
Joe wouldn't do a thing like that. He wasn't no horrible monster. Joe was a sweet, kind, good man, and he never hurt nobody.
He wasn't a sweet, kind, good man, but
never hurt nobody unless he was driven to it.
Actually,
referring to the scar on her face, she said, "He didn't even mean to cut me. He was throwing a bottle at another guy. There were just 2 murders," she said. And I don't think those alligators ate human body of any kind.
Now that I'm actually thinking about it, I mean, there would be bones and stuff at the bottom of the pit.
Unless he cleaned it.
Yeah.
He obviously had no qualms with catching these bad boys.
He had no qualms with catching them, but at the same time, they don't have modern pumps to pump that water out and then actually like pull those bones out and stuff like that. We haven't any of that. Mm-hmm. It's actually might be accurate that he only killed 2 people. It might be accurate, and then the fact that we're reading this stuff now, and they're like, oh, these actually other people are accountable in other states and cities. Accounted for in other states and cities. So
Bucky, of course, agrees to. Contrary to expectations, he has a sense of humor about the tale that has blackened his family name. Truthfully, he has no choice. But when Bucky was training with the Green Berets in North Carolina in 1959, a friend's mother who lived in New Jersey and knew his last name sent her son a comic book that told the horrifying tale of Joe Ball and his alligators. Bucky, who at 70 wears a jet black pompadour and looks like an old rockabilly, chuckled as he remembered their shock when he said, "That's my uncle." In April, Bucky and his wife, who barrel race in their spare time, were in Giddings. This friend of mine saw me and said, "Hey, Ball, did you bring your gator with you?" In truth, alligators aren't that unusual in this part of South Texas, said Bucky, who remembered a stuffed one in the Floresville courthouse when he was a kid. They get in San Antonio, the San Antonio River. I saw 4 in Bronig Lake recently. They like still water. Bucky said his uncle probably got his from around Greytown, about 3 miles from Elmendorf in the lowlands where they go to lay eggs. Bucky has his uncle's World War I portrait and a 48 star flag given to the family after his death.
Damn! So he actually got a flag from. I think
before Hawaii and Alaska.
No, Hawaii and Arizona. Those are the last 2 states.
Alaska's the last one.
I thought Arizona was. Well, Arizona was the last 3 states, but damn.
He keeps them in a glass case in his living room. The 24-year veteran goes to counseling at Brooke Army Medical Center.
So he was a Vietnam vet? Or was he?
I don't know.
Well, I'm just saying, if he was a Green Beret in 1959, he was probably a Vietnam vet. Sorry.
So, the 24-year veteran goes to counseling at Brooke Army Medical Center at Fort Sam Houston and thinks his uncle's experience in the war had something to do with his actions afterwards. My dad told me that after my uncle came back from the war, he was different. I guess what you see and do comes back to you. My counselor tells me your brain's like a tape. And this stuff is in your brain and it will never go away. There wasn't much Army counseling during the Depression, and Joe Ball probably wouldn't have taken it anyway. He didn't seem to be the type to talk about his feelings. Or maybe that's just the myth talking.
Well, okay, so now that we've actually gone through the story, so I can actually sit here and say, at the start, I was like, let's split the difference. Let's split the difference here. More than likely, yeah. Tom, there you go, Tim. There you go, Tim. When I started this, I was like, let's split the difference. More than likely, it was actually half of what 25, which is probably about 12 or 13 people. By the time we got to the end of this, I'm like, nah, it sounds like it was only 2 people. It sounds like he just snapped and fucking murdered 2 people, and that was that. And then when they actually came after him after they
say it was at least 5.
I'm gonna agree. It was probably 5. The rest of them are accountable, are accounted for in other cities and stuff like that. It's because.
Thank you.
Woohoo.
Alaska and Hawaii were in 59. Arizona and New Mexico were 1912.
So then I was right.
You were wrong.
I said Arizona. I did say Arizona. I said Arizona was one of the last ones.
Read it and tell me.
Alaska and Hawaii in 1959. Arizona and New Mexico 1912. Whatever.
So I was right.
Was it 1959? Fucking Swedes, man. Know our history better than I do. I'm sorry, Carl. I'm just fucking with you. McTitties!
I am Jugs.
Yeah, so I'm actually inclined to say it was actually probably between 2 and 5 people now. It was not. I mean, you had the movie Eaten.
Still in there, possible that he was actually feeding people.
I don't think so at all. Because gators are them gators are not gonna eat everything. They're gonna fucking chow down. But there's gonna be some bones at the bottom of that. And when they drained it, they pulled the gators from there. There was no bones.
So
it was just a small pond. It wasn't like it was something major.
So you guys,
yes,
we've hit the end.
We're done.
But
what?
I'm all right, kind of. She loves you.
She kind of loves you. I want to go read some comments in my Cajun accent here.
Well, I was going to announce next week we have an interview with someone who grew up with a murderer as their father.
We actually have an interview next week. This is going to be good. This is going
to be really good. Don't forget to tune in.
I actually might put some.
We're going to do some real big boosting here. And then after that, on the 29th, MK Ultra.
MK Ultra. And I know our schedule's out, but I think, and this popped in my head right now. I think for my birthday, which is I think we have we
have one on the 5th, which is we're doing. Can we do Elizabeth? Well, yeah, but
who do you want to do?
We're doing the Rosenhan experience on the 5th. On the 7th, we could still do something, a special.
I want to do Elizabeth Bathory
on the 7th
for my actual birthday, which is February 7th. I'm a fucking Aquarius with Tom. Or Tom and me are both Aquariuses on the same day. I want to do Elizabeth Bathory.
Bathory. Let me see something if I can.
What are we doing here? I don't think I have any pictures of Elizabeth Bathory.
I'm not trying to find pictures of Elizabeth Bathory.
But yes. Here we go. Doing stuff and doing stuff and doing stuff and stuff and stuff and stuff. And you're typing and you're typing. And,
oh my God, please stop.
Not
helpful.
I can't fucking do drum beats.
Not helpful. Not helpful.
I can't look at stuff what you're doing. I'm just going to read it off and let's sing it at the same time. So, schedule. Ooh. What's going on here? We did that. We did Franz Reichelt last week. We did that. And then we did Joseph Ball today. Did you guys see that shit? Some fucked up shit, man. Yes. And yes. And yes. And then here we go. And then...
So, I don't know if this is actually showing.
Living with a Killer. Ooh, it's going to be fucking brutal. It's not showing.
Yes,
it is showing. Yes, it is.
All right, guys. So here is our schedule up until January. I put January 15th. That's February 15th.
Oh my
not
God,
January.
Rodney Alcala.
We are doing Rodney Alcala.
That's going to be fun. We know a lot about Rodney Alcala.
And so, yeah, and I got to go onto the website and fix something because I put January.
I know. We did. But I do want to do, on my birthday, I want to do Elizabeth Bathory. I definitely want to do Elizabeth Bathory. I actually want to get into the conspiracy theories about her. You know, like the more than likely she was not as brutal as they say she is. So, yeah. Rodney Alcala is going to be fun.
Rodney Alcala is going to be a blast. So remember, guys, go check out Psycho Bunny Death Cult, Psycho Bunny DC, Psychomantium 13. Last week was hilarious.
What did we do last week?
Last week was Franz.
Franz. Oh, that's right. I just said it. Franz Reichelt.
Psycho Bunny DC, Psychomantium 13. Roots Bleed Red.
Can I read something in the Cajun accent real fast? Before we go.
I'm doing something.
I know you're doing something.
I'm trying to talk here. Go like and follow on Facebook, as well as our websites. Go ahead and share everything out. We are going to be, I'm purchasing merch tomorrow.
Oh, Natalie just said it. We left something out. So tomorrow night is Tom's World. Yeah. After that is Monday is sorry, I just burped. Monday is is Doomsday, and then on Wednesday, third part of the Great Pestilence, the Black of Death. Dude, seriously, the last episode of it that Natalie did was fucking awesome. I mean, I produced it. I was there, and I was clicking on things, and I was doing stuff, and I was commenting, but I fucking absolutely love the information that Natalie gathered and how she presented to everyone. Or Odd Mother. Sorry. She brings Odd Mother out every...
Mother de la Mort.
Mother de la Mort. She brings her out for every episode. But yes. Part 3 to the Great Pestilence is this coming Wednesday. And it's fucking brutal and amazing. I absolutely love it. So, and then what else? Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, this Sunday, we're Chaos is back.
Yeah.
Chaos is back this Sunday. Chaos, the Unright.
The
sideshow. They are back this Sunday. So.
Oh yeah, guys, go to scurryface.com and vote in voting section D for defaced Unright.
I'm going to say this real fast. I absolutely love fucking Natalie's episodes. I will sit there, even if we're not doing whatever, I will sit there and watch them left and right. Natalie does some great job with what she does. Awesome jobs. So, all right.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful night. We'll see you next week. And probably sometime in between.
That whenever.
And bye.
We're out. Later, guys.